Hi friends, welcome once again to a new video. Now let's talk about the static shot. So the static shot must really be probably the dumbest shot. Now how hard can it be? We simply just hold the camera still and we're good. But done wrong, this static shot can be rather boring and adds no meaningful value to the footage. But done right, carefully chosen static shots can make a video sequence look much more professional. Now in this video I'm going to reveal some industry tips to make powerful static shots in your cinematic video footage. Stay tuned to find out more. Okay, so hi once again, my name is Tim from 40 Tech and this is a continuation on the series for mastering cinematic shots. Now this is the third video in a mini-series. So once again, if you haven't actually seen the other videos, I suggest that you follow the links in the description and up here and do those first before we carry on with this actual mini-series. Okay, let's get started. So the static shot has got to be dead easy to do, right? Just hold the camera steady for a few moments. However, holding the camera steady is perhaps the biggest challenge with all those little micro shakes. So what I suggest you do is you use the gimbal lock mode that's available on all gimbals, which locks the camera on the direction it's facing, which is going to help prevent any micro shakes. Now I suggest that you look up how to actually activate the gimbal lock mode on your particular gimbal, but for the Pocket 2 for example, it's a case of pressing and holding the button in the top right, and for the Inky Falcon that I have here, it's a case of actually holding in the trigger at the back, and that's going to engage the gimbal lock. For the Crane and M2S and the Crane M3, you need to specifically choose the mode. Tip 2. So the static shot is perfect to break up a shot sequence containing other gimbal movements. Now several static shots one after another is rather boring, but shot after shot where the camera is actually moving can also become tiresome. Now you could do something like movement, 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 then a static shot, movement, movement, and then another static shot. So here's an example of what I mean. So tip 3, the static shot of B-roll can be used as a form of bridge, in quotes, or to link unrelated sequences. Now this technique is used commonly in professional productions. If you have one sequence of shots that makes sense together and you want to follow it with another group of shots that bear no resemblance with the first group, for example, a group of shots showing some streets in a town and then a second group showing perhaps a castle in a town, so the static shot can then link the two shot groups together, showing an establishing shot of the castle, for example. Tip 4. Always look for some movement in the scene when making a static shot. Now without movement, a static shot can appear a little bit like a photograph. Now the movement can be small and natural, perhaps like leaves blowing in a tree, flowers blowing around, and water trickling in a river, for example. Tip 5. Always think about composition rules when doing your static shots. Try at least to get some foreground interest, especially when doing large sweeping vistas that appear far away. Now let's take these two panning shots for example. Now here's one without any foreground interest, so it's a bit boring I think. And here's the second version where the camera now has some simple foreground interest by getting lower down to get some vegetation in the shot. Now here's another example of a rather boring static shot, as there's not much to keep the viewer's interest other than the church in the background. Now if we overlay the rule of thirds, the church does not sit nicely in any of the intersections. It tends to be rather centre focused. Now here's an example of a much nicer static shot, where there is some foreground interest and also a little bit of motion creating additional interest. Now also this shot, if you notice, fits very nicely with the rule of thirds composition, where the 2 points of interest, the plant in the foreground and a castle in the background, sit on the 2 points of intersection. And here is an example where a static shot I think works. And here we have a shot where there isn't really much movement in the scene, but I think that visually it still works. And that's because there are multiple points of interest to keep the viewer's interest for a few moments. In addition, it fulfills a few rules of composition. If we overlay the basic grid, there are points of interest at each of the intersections. And secondly, notice that we have some leading lines here creating some diagonals. And also if we overlay the golden spiral, we can see there's actually some interest in the spiral. Okay guys, so that's my top tips for mastering the static shot. Of course, the static shot is actually quite easy to do, but the trickiest bit is composition and actually picking the moment when to do a static shot and when not. As always, I recommend going out there in the wild and practicing to actually master this shot. Also, a quick shout out to my other channel, Cinematic Travels, which I'm going to link to in the description. So this channel is all about travelling around the world and exploring new places with cinematic techniques. All of these examples I've taken from various videos in my other channels, so please hop over and check that out and see more example techniques. Okay, that's all, so take care and see you soon.